A Quiet Place is a haunting horror movie written, directed by and starring John Krasinski. Taking place predominantly over the space of 24 hours, the film centres around a family living their life in silence due to the fear of being hunted by mysterious creatures that prey on sound. Throughout this video, I will be discussing the film's ending and offering up what I believe the monsters to represent. If you haven't seen the movie, then I highly recommend that you check it out before watching this video. There will be heavy spoilers, and the surprises that the film offers up are worth waiting for. I'm Deffinition, and here is my ending explanation of A Quiet Place. We follow the Abbott family as they attempt to survive the onslaught of mysterious monsters that have invaded the planet. Unable to see, these creatures are still incredibly formidable due to their heightened hearing, armoured skin, incredible speed, and terrifying strength. Whilst we know that other survivors still exist due to the firelighting that Lee witnesses going on at other farms, they are greatly outnumbered and unable to counterattack against the almost unstoppable monsters due to the inability to properly communicate. This has caused the world's armies to be depleted and survivors to remain at a minimum. The Abbotts, possessing a deaf daughter, have an advantage over most as they are able to communicate with one another through sign language. This greatly helps their survival, but as Evelyn goes into labour and the monsters close in, their chances don't look good. In the first act of the film, we see Lee attempting to develop a hearing aid so that his daughter is able to navigate the harsh landscape unguided, and this plays into the family's discovery of how they will defeat the seemingly invincible monsters. Reagan receives a new hearing aid from Lee at the film's midpoint. However, due to his lack of understanding of the technology, he is unable to get it properly to reproduce sounds into his daughter's ears. Still, she wears it as she wants to rekindle the relationship with her father that they once had. As the monsters stalk Reagan, we see when they come into close proximity with the girl, they are given excruciating pain when trying to listen out for different frequencies and sounds in order to locate her. The monsters are able to tune their ears to hear different sound waves and vibrations, and this is how they hunt. We can see the effects of how different notes and frequencies can cause adverse effects in examples such as a certain note shattering glass. A glass has a natural resonance. Resonance is the natural frequency at which the glass will readily vibrate. If the glass vibrates enough due to being at the correct frequency, it will eventually shatter. This explains why we see the monsters vibrating their ears. They are tuning into separate frequencies in order to paint a full picture of their surroundings, and explains why the hearing aid causes so much damage to their bodies. A hearing aid has three basic parts: a microphone, amplifier, and speaker. The hearing aid receives sound through a microphone, which converts a noise to electrical signals and sends them to an amplifier. The amplifier then increases the power of the signals and sends them to the ear through a speaker. As hearing aids possess a microphone and speaker, they can be victim to feedback. Due to the monster's amplified hearing, any noise like this would be extremely painful and lead to them, at the very least, having a horrendous headache. Feedback is caused by a loop signal. That is, a signal which travels in a continuous loop. This can be caused by placing a microphone over a speaker. The microphone feeds a signal into a sound system, which then amplifies and outputs the signal from a speaker, which is picked up again by the microphone. This has a continuous knock-on effect, so eventually the sound gets louder and louder and harder to listen to. With the monsters getting a continuous loop of the speaker and the microphone drilled directly into their brain, they are sent into uncontrollable pain, and a weakness within them is finally found. Evelyn manages to kill one using a shotgun, and as we see the other creatures in the area close in on the farm at the film's close, she nods at her daughter to play a continual feedback loop so that she can finally take them down. The hunted has become the hunter. What do the monsters represent? Whilst the internet is currently awash with theories on what the monsters could represent, personally I believe that they work perfectly as a metaphor for censorship. We often see opinions voiced on social media over subjects, and though many preach free speech, it is very rarely appreciated. There have been several social media lynch mobs in the last 6 months that have specifically targeted those who are deemed to be non-PC, and the film to me is a warning of the dangers that this could lead to. The most recent example I can think of is August Aim, who voiced an opinion about who she would like to appear in films with. Overnight, she was hounded by millions of people and eventually was driven to suicide because of the harassment she received. Whether you agree with her opinions or not is one thing, but we shouldn't bully people for a difference in opinion, as this is the enemy of free speech. Similar to the way that the Abbotts have drastically had to tone their life back in order to survive, we too are unable to express ourselves due to the repercussions and backlashes that we could face. Ricky Gervais's latest stand-up show, Humanity, discusses in great detail how he is regularly attacked online for voicing controversial opinions, and we as people must not be silenced in fear of what monsters could hound us. Otherwise, we could end up in a world where the voiceless are victim to those in power. Or they could just be monsters. What I love about A Quiet Place is that there are several ways to interpret the film, and it breaks a majority of cliches that have come to plague horror movies within the last decade. It's brilliantly acted and contains a unique premise that makes it effortlessly stand out from the crowd. Throughout, I was given flashes of Anne Frank, persecution, and family values that massively elevated the movie to be one of the best that I have seen this year. I definitely recommend that you check it out if you haven't already, even though I've just spoilt the entire thing for you. Whether you agree or disagree with this video, please leave your thoughts below on what the monsters represent. There's a wealth of ways to interpret them, and I'm sure that you have your own interesting perspective to add to the conversation. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, as I do ending explain videos regularly, as well as in-depth analysis on comic books and games. I recently did one on 1922, which will definitely paint out the film in a new and interesting light for you. Thanks very much for checking out the video, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.